Hi everyone. When you're working with a complex project like this example, it's easy to end up with a visually cluttered node network user interface pane. Notice how easy it is to get lost in the spiderweb of connecting lines, even if there's some structure to it. If we click on the Node Network button at the top of the screen and scroll through the node list, we can see just how many nodes are in the project and also that they're arranged alphanumerically. Now imagine you want to assign one of these nodes as a shader via the AssignShader function. It will take a bit of time to scroll through the list to find the node you need, even if you take advantage of Terragen's ability to reposition the list based by typing a letter on your keyboard. But there are a few simple steps we can take that will result in a cleaner node network area and give us quicker access to commonly used nodes. The principle behind this technique is to place certain nodes or groups of nodes into the internal network of another node. Null shader nodes and note nodes are especially well suited for encapsulating other nodes. Null shader nodes work well because they perform no other function than to pass through data without changing it, and as a result have no calculation costs. They can also be used to redirect long connection wires or provide shortcuts to other nodes. Note nodes work well too and offer the benefit of being able to see user comments within the project. In this tutorial, we'll explore both these nodes while focusing our attention on the shader group, but these techniques can be applied across all the groups within the entire project as well. The first node in the shaders group of this project is surface layer 01, and connected to its child layer's input is a cobweb of interconnected nodes. This would be a great place to start removing the visual clutter from the project. Select all the child nodes and cut them from the project by pressing Ctrl-X on your keyboard. Bring up the Quick Node palette by pressing the Tab key and add a Null Shader shader node to the project. You can learn more about using the Quick Node palette feature by watching the video tutorial described in the links below. Double-click on the Null Shader node to open up its settings and rename it to -fake stones. The use of the dash symbol or similar symbol in the naming convention guarantees that the node will show up near the top in all the node lists. Click on the Perform an Action button and select Edit Internal Network. Then press Ctrl-V to paste the nodes we just cut from the project here. Go up a level to exit the node's internal network and return to the node network area. Right-click on the child layer's input of the surface layer 01 node and select Assign Shader to bring up the node list. At the top of the node list are two new entries named -fake stones. The first entry represents the node itself, and the second entry lists all its internal network nodes in a submenu. Select the Fractal Warp Shader 01 node from the submenu to reassign the nodes now located in the internal network of the -fake stones as child layers of this surface layer. Notice that an arrow appears above the child layer input, indicating that an internal connection is in use. The next two sets of nodes, the base color node and the mountain node with its child layer nodes, are not really adding to the visual clutter of the node network area, so we'll leave those as they are. The next series of nodes deal with the grass vegetation textures. We'll combine those using a null shader as well, but also add a couple more nodes to help us stay organized. Select all the vegetation surface layer nodes, along with their child nodes, and cut and paste them into the internal network of a new null shader node. Rename the null shader node to something descriptive, like -grasses. Then, add two more null shader nodes. Rename the first null shader node to -maininput_grasses. And the second null shader node to -output_grasses. Drag a connection line from the output of the first null shader node to the main input of the vegetation light green node. Drag a connection line from the output of the vegetation volcano dark green node to the main input of the second null shader node. The organizational advantage to using the two null shaders as input and output points is that when we access the node list, at the top of the internal node submenu, we'll see the two entries right away. This is a much better method than having to remember which node in the internal network we need to connect to, like we did in the previous step with the Fractal Warp shader. Now find the mountain node in the list and assign it to the main input of the first null shader node. Cutting and pasting nodes to an internal network changes their relative path within the project. And because of this, the null shader node, acting as a shortcut to the painted shader lava flow node, has lost its main input connection and we must reassign it. The next set of nodes, named rock slides, apply an image map texture to parts of the terrain. Because this set of nodes is not creating visual clutter to the project, we can leave them as they are, but we need to connect the rock slide node's main input to the output of the new grasses node. Likewise, the volcano lava flow nodes also apply a color texture to a limited area of the project and are not visually cluttering the node network area. The last group of nodes deal with the snow on the upper slopes of the mountain. For the purposes of demonstration, we'll cut and paste these nodes into the internal network of a note node. Be sure to rename the note node to something descriptive like -snow, and to add, rename, and connect the two null shader nodes for the internal network's input and output flow. The main input of the first null shader node should be assigned to the output of the volcano lava flow node. The last thing we need to do is to assign the main input for the planet node to the output of the -snow nodes. As you can see, by encapsulating certain nodes inside other nodes, we can minimize the visual clutter in a project and optimize the node selection and assigning process, making it much easier to navigate around the project and find the nodes you need. We hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. Thanks for watching.